Awesome. Hey guys, my name is Chris Mierzwiak. I am the partnership manager here at Wodify. A little bit about me. I'm a second degree jiu-jitsu black belt. I have a background in MMA, fought for Strikeforce and Bellator. Don't YouTube those fights. They didn't go my way. And then recently just founded and am currently in the process of opening up Meru Jiu-Jitsu Academy out here in Denver. And just overall, I've been working in the martial arts world professionally for about 15 years now. So, really excited to be able to talk to all you guys today. And then it is an honor to introduce Dave Kovar. Dave and I go, I'd say way back now. I met you in my 20s back in the day, and we've worked together quite a bit. But someone I've learned quite a bit from, been really inspired by over the years. He's a ninth degree black belt, has operated academies out in California for over 45 years now, and helped over 500 businesses that he's been working with since 1999, and has presented at over 150 events and keynotes on leadership, business, and personal development. So, want to say thank you for joining us, Dave, and pass it over to you.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. So it's good to see everybody. So I'm excited about speaking with everybody today. Just a little, it's been interesting. I kind of a quick little history. So in the mid 60s, I'm a little kid and my family's on vacation somewhere and we're somewhere in Montana. And I saw a silhouette of a guy doing a flying sidekick on a billboard. And I didn't know what it was, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I was able to, my first art, I actually started wrestling in 1971. I wrestled for 3 years. Then I started at karate in 73 and just been continuing right after, of course, the first UFC, just like that was, man, I had to learn that jujitsu. So I started jujitsu in 93 and 94, excuse me, and been going strong. And it's really been interesting to see the trends that the martial arts industry has gone through. There's been a lot of different phases. And so what I wanted to talk to you today is some things as we become more and more sophisticated in our tactics and our use of the internet and all the things that software can do. It's super important. I also think that the basic human elements are as important as ever. And that's really what I want to focus on. That's kind of would be maybe something that I can hopefully help with. And I wanted to start out with one of the things. About 15 years ago, I was sitting down with my leadership team and we were having some challenges. Our numbers in our schools. Right now, we have a chain of 9 schools in California, in Sacramento area. We have about 3,000 members in those 9 schools. And at the time we were struggling to things just weren't going the right direction. And we had all these really complicated systems in line. And what I found is that our guys were focusing on not as important things. They were putting their key things, their time into things that were less important. So I sat down with a couple of my key guys on the leadership team. I said, what are the most basic things that people have to remember to do every day, and that they're really going to cover like the core fundamentals? And so we came up with what we call the 5 mindsets, and I want to share with these with you. And really, these are the fundamental things. If you can remember to do these every day, man, you're off to a good start. And the first one, the mindset is we're the friendliest place in town. I want you to think about it for a minute. It's like you all know, running into a martial arts school is incredibly, well, going in for the first time can be very intimidating, and people usually don't decide, hey, jujitsu, let me go enroll and pull it in and enroll. That's not how it works. They usually have been to a website, they've driven by. Sometimes people pull in the parking lot and think, should I do this or not? And they don't know if they're going to have to you fight their way in for admission. Who knows, man? So the bottom line is when someone comes into your school for your academy for the first time, the bottom line is very quickly they're going to decide if they like this place or not. And a big chunk of that is how they're greeted, right? There's a great book by Malcolm Gladwell. It's called Blink. And in the book Blink, he talks about first impressions and how people size things up very quickly. So the idea with we're the friendliest place in town, it's not just from the instructors, but hopefully there's a culture throughout your whole school where people walk in for the first time, they feel like they're part of the team. So, all right. And most people do this just kind of the instructor's friendly. They hope that's enough. But I think it's something that's important to mindfully help your advanced students be aware of. The fact, hey, you see someone you don't know, be the one that walks up and introduce them to the team. Common sense, but I think it's super important to cover that on a regular basis. That's number one. Number two is we're the cleanest place in town, especially if you want to have a kids program. But people very size up your school by the cleanliness of it. It makes a big difference. And one time I had this grandma come in and enroll her grandson at our school. And I was talking to her in the lobby, and she goes, "Yeah, we went to the school down the street, but they're not very good, so we came here." And by the way, the school she's talking about is actually very good. And I go, really? Why wasn't the school very good? She goes, oh, their bathrooms are dirty. That's what she based her whole decision on, right? So we can't always control how many times the phone rings or how many online inquiries we get, but we can control how clean our school is, right? So that's one of those things that's kind of a constant process. Then the third one, and maybe the most important, is that we only teach great classes, never just good classes. That's the mindset. Now, the reality is, I've taught a bunch of mediocre classes in my career, but I'd like to think when I step out on the floor, my intention is to teach a great class. Now, if you were to add up all the classes that were taught all this week, from Monday through Friday of this week, and not just the ones you taught, but everyone that was taught at your academy, and you were to give them a grade point average, and then you were to total it up. If your overall grade point average is less than a B plus, that's a problem. In other words, as Stephen Covey says, you can't talk yourself out of a situation you behave yourself into. What that means is if your classes are only mediocre, it doesn't matter how nice your mats are or how slick your sign is. None of that matters. People aren't going to continue on, right? And so the intention is I bet you everybody that's an instructor here has walked off the mat thinking, hey, I'm pretty good after your class. Hopefully you've thought that. And other times you walk off the mat thinking, what the heck happened today, right? But when you step out on the floor, your intention is to make it a great class. Okay, that's always an important place to stand from. And what I do is if I got a class of 20 people, I look out there and I don't know the exact number, but my guess would be somewhere between 10 and 20% of your student body at any given moment are losing interest. Okay. And I look out there on the mat and I think, all right, man, there's 20 people out here. There's 3 people here that are one mediocre class away from quitting. What can I do to make this sure they come back one more time? And then one more time, and then one more time, right? And if that's your mindset, man, that's a little X factor that can make a big difference. Okay. The next one, the fourth one, this is probably where we're weakest at as an industry, at least from my perspective, is we are excellent at student and parent communication. And what are we talking about there? Is that feedback is the breakfast of champions. Do your students know where they are? Do they know what they're doing well? Do they know how they can improve? Do you have some kind of formal progress check put into your system? In a perfect world, a couple times a year that you're having a brief, even if it's a 5-minute one-on-one with all your students. By the way, you only have to do it with the students you want to keep. Meaning you probably want to try to get to everybody, right? And is it hard to do? Heck yeah, it's hard to do. But the bottom line is a very short little conversation can go a long way with just a strength and a weakness. For example, I might walk up, I'm going to pick on Chris because I know him. Hey, Chris, man, you've been trained for 6 months now. You just got your second strap on your white belt. Congratulations on that, man.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I got to tell you what, I love having you in class. One of the things that you do, you always bring energy, you always give it a great game, you try really hard. One of the things that I noticed that you need to do is you're still a little tense. You need to relax a little bit more and not try to muscle stuff. When are you going to come back to class again?
I should be here tomorrow night.
Okay. Let me tell you what I just did. We call it a GSIR, GSIR. It's a very quick little interaction that takes literally 30 seconds. First thing it is, I told Chris something general that I like about him. Okay. And then I gave him some specific that I like about it. And then I gave him an area that he can improve upon. Then I asked him when he's coming back to class again. Okay. And why that when you're coming back to class again is so important is that let's imagine, Chris, you're losing interest. Okay. And it's kind of okay. And then you looked me in the eye and said, I'll be back on Wednesday. Okay. Now Wednesday rolls around. Now, are you guaranteed 100% you're going to be there? No. Are you more likely to show up next Wednesday because you made a commitment to me? You are. Okay. Guess what happens? Wednesday rolls around. You don't want to go. I told Dave I was going to go. So yeah, I guess I'll go again. And you show up and you have that turnaround class. Boom. That's that class that gets you back in the groove. And we've all experienced that. Because remember, training does not go like this. This is how training goes. You have good days and bad days in your experience. And so what we got to do is we just got to get them to come back one more time. Okay. So that's a real easy strategy. But overall, are you communicating specifically with all of your students? Okay. And whatever you're utilizing, as far as how much you're utilizing your software is super crucial to help with that, with automated texts and emails and all that. But understand the human touch is super important. And as we become more reliant on AI, which is super important, we got to be using it. I think the human touch is the yin to the AI's yang, right? It's the more we can let people know that we as a person see them and communicate with them. That's going to make that's going to give us, that's the secret sauce that's going to keep us more relevant than all the other competitors that aren't doing that at all. And step number 5, and this is where we're going to spend a lot of time, is every day we look for opportunities to recruit new members. And this is where I want to focus on. And I want to focus on old school marketing, okay? Things that we did back literally, in the 80s that still works. And what's interesting about this is as we found in our organization, as we became more reliant upon our, what we're doing on social media, that works great. But it's interesting how algorithms change, and what worked good for a while all of a sudden doesn't work as well. And I see a lot of schools that forgot how to do grassroots marketing, and all of a sudden, they're in a situation where they're relying solely on their what they're doing online, and they're missing out. To put it in perspective, we track our stats really, really clearly, and 46% of our leads come from online, all our online marketing. Okay. Uh, and 54% are grassroots referrals and all the stuff we're doing out, the old school stuff. What's interesting about that, so you think it's about 50-50, which is pretty close. What's interesting, those are of leads, of the people that actually enroll. 65% of the people that actually enroll in our program are through our grassroots, old school referrals, that kind of thing, marketing, which means if we weren't doing any of that, we'd be getting 1/3 the new members that we currently are. And so what I want to do is I want to cover, by the way, is that I wanted to cover some 5 primary things that are old school grassroots marketing. Each one works incredibly well. By the way, these take time. That's the thing about grassroots stuff. You have to put in the hours to do it. Okay. So the key thing on this is to look at this is something you're doing over time. For between now until the time you retire or sell your school or whatever it might be, and so you allot yourself some amount of hours every week to put into it. Whatever you have, if it's a half hour or 2 hours a day, really depending on where you're at. In your growth. So the first thing that I would strongly encourage you to do, if you have not yet done this, and especially Mr. Mierzwiak, since you're opening up a school pretty quickly, this would be a really good focus for you. And anybody else that's got a newer school that you don't have by the way, I just want to address something general. I have see the question there. Something specific, how they can improve, and when are they returning? When they coming back to class? Sorry. Okay, there we go. Now back to where we are. Step number 1 is I would encourage everyone, if you haven't already, to go meet your business neighbors in your community. Now, really, it's based on the density of your community. Like if you're in New York City, obviously you've got 500 businesses within a quarter mile, right? If you're out in a smaller town, you might have to expand that. But what I would do is I would find the 50 businesses closest to you. Okay. And I would just walk in and introduce myself to them. And by the way, has anybody ever been someone tried to sell you something you didn't want? Cold call, that's no fun. Don't be that guy. You're not going to walk in and say, hey, my name's Dave Kovar. I run a martial arts school down the street. Any chance you can put flyers in and to help me out? That's not the approach at all. Okay. The approach is you walk in there, what I can do for you, Mr. Business Owner. So let's put it this way. Let's imagine there's a sandwich shop across the street from your academy. And all of a sudden, the guy walks in the afternoon, and he's Bob, who owns the sandwich shop, and he goes, "Hey, I'm Bob. I own the sandwich shop across the street. Any chance you can give me flyers, or handouts that I can give my customers for maybe some kind of guest pass for a free class?" What would you do? You'd be all over that. You think that's the cool idea. You'd go, how many do you need, right? Well, let's reverse that. Walk into a business, the sandwich shop across the street from your place. By the way, ma and pa businesses work way better than chains, like Starbucks, McDonald's. They have corporate rules. They're not going to allow you to do that. So you find the local places and you walk in and say, hey, my name's Dave. I run the martial arts school down the street. And I want to let you know, just, hey, man, we have a community bulletin board. Do you have any coupons that I can give for discounted sandwiches that I can put on our community service board, our community bulletin board? Oh, you do? Great. All right, great, man. Thank you. Oh, by the way, how many employees do you have? 10? Great. Here's 10 gas passes for 2 weeks of lessons for the academy, if you know of anybody who might be interested. That's how you start the relationship. Okay. And you're walking in there with what can I do for you? Okay. And then to the best of your abilities, frequent all your local businesses. Okay. So they get to know you. Now, what's going to happen from this? You're not going to enroll a ton of members from that the first month, but what's going to happen? You're going to be the person in your community. So I bet you most of you, if you have if you have like an older model car, maybe you like to, there's some mechanic, Joe that runs the mechanic, down the mechanic shop down the street that he's the best mechanic in town, and maybe you referred him, okay? Or maybe the hairdresser, someone that does your hair. Oh, I know, this is the person. Well, who knows if they're the best or not, but they're your person and you refer them. And the whole idea is now the guy with the sandwich shop, he did not, he didn't take advantage. None of his staff did, but he overhears someone talking about, yeah, I'm looking about going into martial arts. All of a sudden, he knows the guy. He knows the person. Okay. So is it time consuming? Absolutely. It's time consuming. But if you were to limit, to block out an hour a week. By the way, a true story. We built when we were expanding our organization 3 times. We built a school from 0 to 300 within a year. Okay, and in one of the little camp, it's our location. It's called the Waterman location. And at the time, the program the directors, it was a gal named Julie. And Julie, I'm there in the afternoon. And school's been open for about 2 months, and we're working. They're hustling really hard. And I'm talking to the head instructor, a guy named John. And Julie walks in. She looks over at her partner John, and she goes, 7 businesses in 10 minutes. And he goes, right on. I go, what do you mean, Julie? He goes, I just VIP'd 7 businesses in 10 minutes. So she found a strip mall and did this, right? I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time. So many times what people do is they'll get a map out and they'll think, all right, I'll go here on. No, man, just do it organic, ready, fire, aim. Go just hit all the businesses in your community, get to know them. And then over time, now I go back a month later and I go back to get some more flyers or coupons from the sandwich shop, and I say, oh, by the way, we're doing a women's self-defense clinic this Friday, and maybe it's a fundraiser for Weave, Women Escaping a Violent Environment or something like that. Do you mind? Can I post this in your window? That's how you get this going. It's long term. And what happens over time, this will give you tons of new members. It's a slow process, but super important. So that's number one. Okay, you get to know your neighbors in your community. Number two, and this is not going to be as good for people that are newer to the business. But if you've been in business for any length of time, and people that inquired that did not enroll. And the rule of thumb on this is, how long are you supposed to reach out to old leads? The answer is until they tell you don't reach out anymore. And there's so much truth to that. I can't tell you how many times. As a matter of fact, our partners, I have some schools that are associated, that are licensed schools with me on the East Coast that are run by a gal named Nancy Walzall. Chris, you know Nancy. And she's this amazing operator. I call her, I'm not making this up, New Year's of this year, New Year's afternoon of New Year's Eve. And I go, hey, Nancy, what are you doing? She goes, oh, and by the way, she runs 9 locations out there as well. And she is the grassroots queen. And she goes, oh man, I'm not happy with our numbers for December. So I decided today I'm going to try to enroll 10 students from old leads. I'm only at 8. So she had enrolled 8 people online from old leads, not on an intro, but an actual on program. It took her about 5 hours to do, but do the math on that. That's a worthwhile 5 hours, right? So what did she do? She reached out to old leads and she just made them an offer they couldn't refuse, right? And so always worth doing. And remember, every one of you has had someone that's come to your school and did a trial class and didn't enroll, and then maybe came back a year or 2 later. I bet you guys have all had something like that happen before, okay? And why didn't they enroll that day? Maybe the timing just wasn't right. They're about to go on vacation, husband loses job, little brother breaks his arm. Who knows? Something happens that keeps them out of it. But they were interested, and should keep them in the loop. So that would be the next thing, old leads. And that's just kind of an ongoing process. And by the way, if you think, oh yeah, we send out an email every 3 months with old leads, that's great. Guess what most people are doing when they get that? Delete, 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 delete. That's what they're doing. Okay. I got back. I was gone for a few days. I was off the grid, and I got back and I had 280 emails in what did I do? Delete, delete, delete. Yeah, and that's what most of the time they're doing. So if you think you're reaching out to old leads, continue to do that, by the way. Super important that you do that. However, the human touch, okay, is whatever you can do to make that. Even old school calling, right? Tell them who you are. Text them first. Hey, this is Dave Kovar from Kovar Satori Academy. I'm going to be reaching out to you just to check on see if you're interested in martial arts again. Then I call, and maybe they say no, but I'll tell you what, you'd be blown away by how many people. Oh, thanks for calling back. Yes, we've been meaning to get back in. Okay. So that's the second that's the second way. And of course, the more old leads you have, the better. Number 3, old students that formally trained with you. If you've been in business for any length of time, you've certainly been in the grocery store and you see an old student. And oftentimes they see you and they kind of look away because they're embarrassed that they're not training more, and your cart ends up bumping into their cart. And they go, oh, hey, Mr. Kovar, good to see you. Yeah, man, I really miss it. Yeah. Well, that's your opportunity. So the idea with old students is the way I like to do it. Imagine you took a list of all your old members and you kind of triaged them. First thing you did is you found people on that list that you remember that you had great rapport with. Okay, that's who you call first, because that's a fun conversation. It's the easiest conversation. And I just pick up the phone and I just say, hey, Chris, Dave Kovar, just checking on you, man. How you doing? If I find out Chris moved to Boston, And when he's in grad school, I'm not going to bug him if he wants to come back and train. But if he's, oh man, yeah, I really miss the school. What are you doing now? That's where the conversation starts from. And I can't tell you, I had a gentleman. His name was Jared Evers. He's the assistant manager of one of our locations. Trained with me from the time he was 9 till he was about 17, and he came back at 32, and he's been back for a decade. Okay. And what happened is that I know for a fact he was in the email. Had I reached out to him 5 years earlier, he would have come back sooner. So right now there are a ton of people that are one conversation away from getting back into your school. You just need to reach out through every source possible, but the human touch is the best. And here's the one I like. Instead of leaving a message with an old student, you can do that certainly, is I actually take my phone out and I got my camera on and I go, hey, Chris, Dave Kovar, it's been a long time. I loved having you as a student. I know it's been 3 or 4 years since you're training. I just want to let you know, man, it'd be great to have you back in the school. If you're interested, please text me back. Boom. It takes that long. And now it's personal, it's real, and it's a real powerful way to connect with old members. Okay. So once you've gone through the people you had the best rapport with, then you go through, then you kind of go down the list from there. Someone put in the chat, what I see a bunch of them. I guess we'll come back with Q&A later. Chris, do you want me to keep going and then Q&A later, or do you want me? Okay, good enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So any questions you have, we'll hit to all of them. Let me just keep my flow going here if possible. Okay. So we started with getting to know the neighbor, your business neighbors in the business. Okay, business neighbors. Number 2 was old leads. Number 3 was former students. Number 4, probably the most important thing you can do is referrals from current members. Okay. Now, here's what's happening. I've asked this question 100 times. I'm at an event, I'm talking to school owners, and I'll say, how many guys, what's your best source of new members? Every time people say referrals. That's what comes at. Probably just like in your school, your best students come from referrals to your students. Then the next question I go is, how many guys can be better at referrals? Almost every time the hands go up. Yeah, I can be better. And remember, our strategy for referrals is not really gimmicky. I'm not going to put a thing up 10 new members and you get a mountain bike, or you can do that and nothing wrong with it. My experience, it's never really worked well for us. I haven't heard a lot of schools that it works as well for. The best way to do referrals is, by the way, if you do an announcement at the end of class, hey man, we have come bring your friend to train on Friday, or we have a self-defense clinic next Saturday night, bring your friends. You'll get some nods, but what works was when I walk up to somebody individually, I might do that, but I go, hey, Chris, hey, we're doing a self-defense clinic a week from Friday. Do you know of any ladies that could benefit from that? And I ask you directly, one-on-one, okay? And the response is amazingly different. I have a text thread with a bunch of my head instructors, and if I need a class covered, and I text everybody, hey, who can help me out on this Saturday 8 o'clock with this class? I'll get not much of a response, is what I'd like to get in with. But if I text them individually, guess what? The response is amazing. So simply get in the habit of asking for referrals. And how do? You work that into a conversation. Maybe another time we can go through our 8-step student progress check. We have a real specific way we do that. But the bottom line is, anytime you're having a conversation with someone that's a raving fan, my favorite thing is I'll look at someone and say, you know what? I'd love to have another student just like you. Do you have any friends that could benefit from the program? And then give them a reason give them an event to come to, of some kind, right? An open house, a fight night, a buddy day, whatever it might be. Give them a reason to bring somebody to that, okay? But the one-on-one referrals is incredibly effective, and it's just a slow drip. You're not going to get, if you ask, let's just break it down like this. Imagine if you asked everybody once a day, you ask someone for a referral once a day. Let's say that's 20 in a month. Guess what? You're going to end up getting maybe 3 referrals, and 1.5 or 2 people more a month are going to enroll because you spent 2 minutes a day asking for a referral. It's super powerful. And this is very cliche, but I think it's really true. I don't know one way to get 20 new members, but I know 20 ways to get 1 new member. And this stuff is time consuming, but it's incredibly effective, and it's served the test of time. It continues to be our best source. One more, and then we'll open it up for questions. And that is especially this time right now, it is your community right now has all kinds of events going on, booths. There's all these opportunities. This spring we have so many events in April and May at our schools. And what does that mean? we're putting up a booth at the Pumpkin Festival, at the Jazz Festival, and these things. By the way, if you've ever done a booth event and you don't always kick butt with it. Sometimes you show up, you do a booth event, and nothing happens. But guess what happens? Sometimes if you go fishing, you don't always catch a fish. But if you don't put a hook on the worm on the hook and throw it in the water, you're never going to catch a fish. And so let me give you this is absolutely true. We don't always do these numbers, but let me give you just to put it in perspective. We have this event. It's called the Chicken Festival. And what it is, it's a day where they cook chicken all these different ways. And there's a couple thousand people show up. It's between two of our locations. It's a one-day event. Uh, and what happens is that we have a booth. And by the way, last year we do not. If you're doing a booth, don't really focus on leads. Certainly, you're going to get emails. Your phone numbers and emails. You want to get leads, but focus on appointments. And I'll tell you why. You come back to your school and you got 180 leads. You're all excited. Then you start reaching out to those people, and it's very disheartening. It's because you don't get the same results. So what we do is we focus. We'll put them in our drip system, but we focus on scheduling appointments. And what we'll do is we'll make them an offer. Like if you schedule this appointment, we'll give you a T-shirt on your first day for showing up. And right now, we're currently doing a one-class pass. There's lots of different actually things that you can offer. Right now, we're doing a one-class pass, and we'll give them a uniform on the first day. But here's the key. Let me finish the story. So we scheduled 62 appointments. 62 appointments, between almost all of them for one location. Out of that, 45 showed up, and we ended up enrolling 28 members off of one event. Now, clearly they don't all go that good, but why did that go well? Because first and foremost, it's not how fancy your booth is. It's nice to have a good booth. It's the person that's there. They got to want to be there. They got to want to be there. They got to be the person. Like, I'm not the guy you want working a booth. I tend to be a little bit more, introverted, and I'm kind of actually outside of my element. I'm not that guy that it's an easy conversation start. It starts conversations easy, but that's who you need. Someone that wants to be there. Generally speaking, we usually will have two people working a booth. One that's interacting with people as they're walking by. Another one that's doing some kind of an appropriate demo. It might be hitting the bag. Depending on who your market is, right? Maybe it's a board break or something that just draws attention. So you can kind of channel them over. And then we're working really a wheel to spin, free T-shirt, a water bottle, whatever it might be, that draws attention over to you. And it can be incredibly effective. And how do you find out? How do you find out about the booths you're in? Well, you do. It's really simple. You type in your zip code and community events. That's all you got to do. And guess what's going to pop up? A ton of stuff. Most of it you're not going to be interested in, but you narrow it down. There's going to be a few events over the next few weeks that are worth attending if you have the right people. So I went really fast. I want to make sure that I hit an overview. Once again, we covered 5 areas. The first one was all the businesses in your neighborhood. 2 was old leads. 3rd was old students. Next was referrals, and the last one was community events. So at this time, I wanted to open up, or maybe somebody can feed me the questions you want, or I can look online. So, Chris, where should you go from here?
Yeah, I think Reagan and I have some additions to add to everything that
Perfect.
you
Great.
went over there. And like always, every time, I feel like I've gone to a ton of your, ProMac events, webinars, everything. And I always walk away with something new that I want to like dive into or implement. So a lot of cool stuff there. Reagan, if you wanted to pull the slides up for us, we can go through just to
Yeah.
piggyback off of some of the stuff.
And just a reminder, definitely add questions if you have any to the Q&A so that we can run through those at the end. And then additionally, we'll give you guys a chance to use the raise hand button if you want to unmute and ask a question live at the end. So go ahead and get these up for you, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well,
That
we're
look
waiting.
all right?
Ben. Hey, Ben, good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, Dave. I'm excited to see you at ProMac.
All right, outstanding. It'd be great to have you.
Awesome. Yeah. So one of the key points you were talking about was just winning back cold leads, former students. I think the biggest thing, use Nancy's example, going in and going through the list and just grinding it out. But I think over time, one of the things that you can really do to help with that is just build a repeatable outreach sequence, something that you can be reminded of. If it's the personal touch, automating a reminder to follow up with that student that left 6 months later, a year later, just so that pops up and it's fresh in mind. So doing that with automations, workflows in the Wodify side is really helpful. And then re-engaging those students that canceled. I have to say, I love the idea of the personal message, the selfie FaceTime message goes a long way. But again, just planning out what the process is and then having a system in place that facilitates that is going to go a long way, and making sure that you're not overwhelmed. Like, hey, I need to sign up 10 people. I'm going to go through this list of 300 and just call them one by one. If you're doing consistent little chunks on a set cadence, it's really going to break up the work for you rather than sitting down and trying to grind out 8 hours.
Love it. Love
And
it.
then the next one, just the turning students into your best referral source, is something I'm huge on and just really believe in, not just for the fact that they're bringing friends in and it builds the community, but the people that you're surrounded with and you really enjoy having there, like you said, going to those students you have great rapport with, they're going to bring in more students that are like them and really grow the community and the environment that way. So that's another reason I'm just a huge fan of it. But things that'll help with that, you mentioned talking to people individually, but building and introducing your referral program early on in the onboarding process. And hey, you've been here 100 days. Here's an email reminder with how you can refer someone, getting reviews, that sort of thing, the same way. Make the incentive really specific. Use the mountain bike example, but hey, if you bring a friend in and they end up signing up, that'll be 10% off, or you'll get a free t-shirt or a free 30-minute private, whatever the incentive is for that referral, make sure that it's known and you can really drive value that way. And then talked about this a little bit already, but identifying your ideal student profile and reaching out to them directly. I can think of off the top of my head 10 students that I really have great conversations with on a daily basis, and going to them and being like, hey, do you have any friends that would enjoy coming in and being part of this? They really go to bat for you, and you really get a lot of traction that way as well. And then overall, the bigger promotions, hey, we're going to do Bring a Friend Month or Buddy Month. And again, going back to that specific incentive, having the incentive for, if your friend signs up, this will happen. We'll follow through with it. That'll really drive the results there. And then just driving back to the automations, automating the reviews and personal testimonial requests, especially with people that have been there for a long time, is really going to help build on that reputation side within the community.
Good stuff.
And then I believe this is the last slide here, but maximizing the events like you were talking about. Again, really big on booking the appointments on site and the follow-up there versus going into a lead drip campaign. But a way that you can help track with that is event-specific promo codes. I know you named the Chicken Fest off the top of your head, but if you guys are really doing a lot of events and want to see this event was more successful than the last, having it tracked back, every single lead source tracked back to where they came in, what event it was, really helps repeat the process down the road. And then booking on the spot, making sure that you have something in place, whether it's the app on your phone with Wodify or the tablet. Hey, let's book you right now. What day works best? Monday, 5 o'clock. Cool. I have you booked for this class, this first intro visit, whatever the process is, but doing it on the spot and then having the automations present to confirm the appointment, send the reminder, and all the pieces that are in place to really drive that home. And then for those drip campaigns and sequences, people that come in as the lead and don't set, still have that automated sequence to follow up in place post event for booking, for getting people through the door. Because even if they're not ready on the spot, they might be tomorrow or the day after. Cool. And if anyone of our customers or anyone else on the webinar is interested, feel free to use this QR code, book a call with the team. We can help you build some of this stuff out, brainstorm around how we can implement stuff from the webinar. QR code's right there if you want to scan that.
Just threw that in the chat too.
And then for any of these things as well, this is a link to book with our workflow team. If you are really inspired by some of the stuff that we're talking about, have a process and want to implement it, scan this link, book a call, and then they can build out those follow-ups for you. I'm actually working on a project myself right now where I'm building all of mine out for my academy, and I'm happy to share those with anyone that's interested as well. And then one big plug. This is an event I've lost count of how many Pro Max I've gone to over the years. If you guys have not gone or have in the past, this is something I always recommend, no matter how many times I go. Walking into these events, going through the sessions, classes, connecting with everyone, it is one of the most invigorating things as a martial artist and a school owner, someone that goes in, hey, I can improve this, I can do that. You just walk away feeling like you have next steps, you have direction, and you're excited about really getting back to work the next day. We do have a link in here. It'll give you $200 off if you sign up through the Eventbrite right here. And then, yeah, turn it back over to Mr. Kovar. Thank you so much. And I think we have some Q&A to get into.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Yeah, once again, ProMax, a great event. Thanks for the plug for that, Chris. And you can make it. You will leave glad you did. Yep.